Good morning. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Thank you very much, as always, for tuning in. Do us a big favor and smash the like button. So important that you get that done for us. It truly is. Also, in the link in the descriptions below is the link to our Football Terrace Clips account, where daily 3, 4, 5 clips from various shows that we do are put out there. Some of the best extracts are taken and reposted for you. So you might have missed a full show. Some of our shows are hours, 2 hours long. You better see that on the clips. So make sure you go and get that downloaded right about now. As I say, liking the hit button, hitting the like button, and making sure you share this stream on your social media platforms is very important to us as well. Leaks continue to come out of Manchester United, and this for me is becoming farcical. Absolutely farcical. See what's going on at this club right now, because nothing that's happening and nothing that's being said I don't think any of it is abnormal to the goings on of a football club that's on a bit of a bad run of form. But for me, what I see right now, how it thinks and feels to me is that what Man United are doing is they are setting things up for the Ollie sacking. They are putting out the propaganda. They are putting out the PR that is starting to make everything sound like it's Ollie's fault. Everything is Ollie's fault. That's what I'm seeing now. It's just how it feels to me personally. The latest piece of information that has come out is that Bruno was feeling left upset and humiliated after being hauled off at halftime by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, why do any of us need to even know this? Like, legitimately, why do any of us need to know this? My view is we don't. We don't need to know this. We don't need to know that level of detail about what's going on in the dressing room to an extent. Of course, he may be left upset or feel frustrated by being substituted at halftime. Who wouldn't be? If your team's getting battered 4-1 and you get pulled off, you're going to be upset. They should all be feeling humiliated. But how this is being spun again and again is Ollie made a decision. Bruno Fernandes, probably the most favoured Man United player at the moment, who is pretty much unilaterally respected by Man United fans, was left disappointed, humiliated, and upset. The Athletic have said that Fernandes was amongst the most vocal stars in United camp at half-time. They're making it sound like he kicked off at Maguire, he kicked off at Ollie. You know, the tactical stuff we heard about yesterday, the players aren't happy with the training. It's all left to the attacking players to be the stars of the show. He has a go at Maguire, who's seen as like the golden. So remember, this was the same narrative when Jose was there. There was players that were like the golden children that could never be dropped, and it wound everybody up. It's so reminiscent, and it has the same embers. Now, I'm not defending Ollie here. We deserve criticism for losing 6-1. He deserves criticism for our start to the season. But is anybody buying this? That's my question to you this morning before we go to the Skype lines. Are any of you buying this? This 4 days continuous of negative leaks coming out of Man United that all center around one thing. Is Ollie losing the dressing room? That's what they are telling us. That's what they're presenting to us. I want your views. I want your opinions. Give the show a call right now. The Skype lines are open. I want to hear from you on this subject matter. We've got Epic Nin on the line. We're going to go to in just a second. Let's do a few of your chats here from our members. By the way, you can become a member for as little as 99p. Go into our description below. Sign up now. We're going places. Who reported this? This is from The Athletic. This isn't just some namby-pamby report. This is genuine. Where are these leaks coming from? I want your opinions. Kevin here in the comments says, Bruno is world-class. Maguire is a mid-table defender levels. What's that got to do with anything? Explain yourself. Listen, throwing salt's great, Kev, and I get that, bruv. But we're not really talking about the myopic elements of what's going on. It's where are these leaks coming from? Who do you think they're coming from? And what's the point of them? What do you think the end result of these leaks is to do? I want your opinions on that. Paul P here says, all this stuff needs to stay in-house. Whoever is leaking these types of stories needs sacking immediately. They can spin the PR all they want. Every fan who supports United is anti-Glazers. Mate, I agree with you, but that's the point, bro. Paul P, I think you hit the nail on the head there, my friend. This is Glazer Woodward propaganda. They're making Ollie public enemy number one. The question is, are you going to fall for it? Are you personally going to fall for Ollie being public enemy number one? Are you falling for it? Call now via the Skype lines. Epic Nin is on the line here. Epic Nin, is this just more propaganda to turn us against Ollie, or do you think it's a valid piece of journalism?
Well, you've done that for Jose, and you're going to have that cycle, and in the next 18 months, when Pochettino's not doing well in the start of the season, he's going to, the Man United are going to start a propaganda, leaking stuff out to the media, and I bet he's going to get sacked again. And who else are you going to get after Poch, really? If you're going to think about it, nothing, no one.
Well, you know what somebody said on the show the other day, I can't remember which show it was, we do so many now. He hopes that Poch rejects us because he said it would be a shot across the bow. It would almost be a case of, wow, actually, nobody actually wants to come and be part of it. That's what I would love to see happen. I would love to see a top manager tell the Glazers, absolutely no way am I risking my reputation for you all to throw me under the bus. But what you do... He's just going to... Sorry to interrupt you. He's just going to waste his time, and while there's like many opportunities that he could have joined. For example, Pep might potentially be leaving us, even though one of our chiefs said yesterday they're working on Pep to talk to him at the right time. But potentially he might be joining Man City, where he'll be even more in a better position. He's financially more back than Man United, etc., etc. And I bet. You've seen what he's done for Spurs, and with a little amount of money, he managed to get Spurs into the finals. Mate,
Champions
and
League.
I totally get that, mate. I think you make some really good points there. You do, and I think the Poch thing is an interesting one as whether or not he will join. Bro, thank you for coming on the show. Next up, we have Dark Side User. Before that, Will Red here. Will Red differently says, "Hi Terry. Can you shout out my auntie as it's her birthday? Big fan." Thank you for the super chat. But, bro, you're not catching me out again on that. You caught me on a bad day the other day. But I'll read her first name, Wilma. I'm not reading the second name, my friend. But thank you for the attempt. Keep trying them if you want, people. Super chat questions guaranteed to be read out. We'll do as many member comments as we can. Next up, Dark Side User. Are Man United fans stupid for believing this media PR spin? What are you saying, bro?
Hi, mate. I'd like to say, well, because you said it's The Athletic, and watching your show for a long time now, you speak highly of The Athletic, so it's a bit hard to question it.
Oh, I'm not.
At the same time,
let me just reiterate. Sorry.
I think Man United fans...
No, let me just reiterate something. I don't think the Athletic are lying here. The Athletic have been given this information. I'm not worried about the publication who's putting it out there as such. I'm more concerned with where is it coming. This hasn't come from the Athletic. This has been given to the Athletic by a source. Who do you think is leaking this information to make everybody turn against Ollie? Do you think it really is the players that want him out? Or do you think it is the board trying to make him public enemy number one? What's your opinion?
It's a tough one because I'm a Liverpool fan. So I don't really look at Man United in the same way I look at my club. But I think it's a mix of both. I think there's going to be players who are going to be unhappy about certain things. But at the same time, with what's happened with the transfer window and all this bad media press, I think they're going to hang him out. You know, it's been said for many months who's going to be the first manager to be sacked. But I think we need to look further back than this because the writing's been on the wall with mine. Retire.
Hello, mate. Sorry, your signal's awful. Try calling us back when that line's a little bit better, please, mate. I get where you're coming from there. This is about the board more than anything else. Paul here says, if they do this, Poch should demand a contract that makes him unsackable. Control on the transfers, whopping salary, make Ed bend over backwards. But setting up Ollie in this way is all Ed can do. I mean, Poch won't get a contract like that, but I do hear your point on this. Linda Stanley here says typical Man United board tactics and typical Man United fan behavior, believing the vicious cycle. That's probably the truest comment I've ever read on this channel. And that's coming from Linda, who's normally quite salty towards me, to be fair, especially if we ever say anything negative about Liverpool. She can't handle that, Linda, can you? But I respect you on that comment because it's true. And Man United fans are already falling for it. What we're seeing again and again and again is, see, I told you I was right about Ollie. I told you about Ollie. I told you about Ollie. I told you about Ollie. It's like, bro, can't you see you're being manipulated here? Can't you see that the media is quite literally feeding you this information to make you angry because they know you're going to, they literally know that you're going to believe it. 110%. They know that you're going to believe it without any kind of challenge, any kind of critical thought whatsoever. I got tweeted something earlier. So there was a thing about basketball yesterday. Somebody said, like, but you know, the percentage game and taking your opportunities. Only when you go to take your opportunities, you create greatness, essentially. And I said, that's why I don't listen to football idiots when they moan about Bruno's cutting passes not coming off. Percentage game. Somebody then said to me, the problem with Bruno is that he goes for game-winning passes too often rather than the better opportunities to penetrate. And I'm like, that's a fine thing to think. But my question is, well, how many does he make compared to his peers? Because what I mean, and this is the critical thought when it comes in, it's about, okay, it's a fair statement. I definitely know that Bruno makes mistakes in games when he plays the wrong kind of passes. When I think he should go left, but he goes right. Oh, that pass he tried to pull off would have been world-class, but it was so hard to do. Should he have gone for a simpler one? That's fine. But when it comes to things that are anecdotal, when it comes to things on the surface, when it comes to availability bias, when something's pumped into your eyes and into your ears and into your mind continuously by TV, by media, by rival fans, it makes you feel that it's a more prevalent problem than it really is. It makes you feel like it's more representative than it is. This is a scientific fact. What you then need to start doing is looking at the breakdown. Going, well, actually, how many of these things that are going on are normal within football? So point being, how many football players feel upset and humiliated if they're hauled off at half time, even in successful teams? And if it's a very normal occurrence, then it isn't a problem. They tried doing this years ago when Mario Balotelli had a bust up on the training ground at Man City, and they made it look like he was some nasty, unprofessional thug. And then all the pros were coming out saying, this happens weekly. It's normal. So suddenly it's like, oh, actually, there's no issue with it. Do you get where I'm coming from? Context is always needed. And then we need to understand how representative this issue is. So like I say, you can say Bruno wastes too many passes, but how many is he attempting and or not completing in comparison to his peers? And only then do you know whether he actually is forcing it or making too many mistakes. The same as Rashford makes too many errors on the pitch. In what way? He makes more than, does he make more than everybody else in his position? And the only way you do that is by studying it. But if everybody says he makes more mistakes and you just go, yeah, it's true, actually. Why? Because you start looking for the mistakes because it's out there, it's prevalent. It's called it's an availability heuristic. It's a scientific fact. We've got a new member here. I can't see his name. It's disappeared. Kenny, thank you for becoming a squad member of the Football Terrace. Thank you. Next up on the show, we have CJ. CJ, you're on the line. Tell me what you think about these rumors, bro.
Good morning, Terry.
Good morning.
I think that the media don't have any story to publish right now, since we don't have any soccer. Nothing is happening, any football. So, Man United being a big club, they're obviously going to talk about Man United. And the whole bust-up situation with Bruno, it normally happens. It happens all the time. Even under Sir Alex Ferguson, you used to have bust-ups with all the players. So that's fine. However, I think that, I've realized that with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when things go bad, give you a good example. Remember last season, we lost against Burnley, and the same thing happened. All the stories are saying that Man United are going to fire Ole, and we had Tottenham and Man City as coming up fixtures. And the thing that happens with Ole is that when things look dire, he always pulls up results. So I think that this month, we want to win a lot of games. So I think it looks bad now, but then I think Ole's just a lucky manager. And this is not the first time it happens. So let's just relax and everything is going to go well.
Okay, so I understand. So you just think that Ole has been lucky in the past. He's almost gone, wins a few games, keeps himself in his job, and then it's just a cycle. So do you think it's best that he does go then?
This is one thing that I wanted to talk about. I didn't have the opportunity to call you during this week. I think that people who want Oli to go, they like to speculate. Let's look at the facts. Okay. The fact is that he's been here for 18 months, half of a season, and a whole season, right?
Yep.
So people will say that Oli is a bad manager. The question is, what are the matrix that we use to determine whether or not Oli is a bad manager? Is a good or bad manager? So we could say that the points he earns throughout the season, his man management, his recruitment, and how he helps up the team, right?
Yeah.
So this far, I think that Oli has brought in the right players. Honestly speaking, I think that they just need time. And I look at Bruno. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a good player. Just needs some time. I think that Maguire is a good player. I just don't think that he's the primary. I don't think he's a leader at the back. He needs someone else to help him out. I think that's what we have tried to do. We tried to make Maguire the leader at the back, which is not working out. But then when we look last season, Oli was number 3. We came out number 3.
Yeah.
And then you ask the rivals, right? I've been listening to many of your shows, and then when you ask them on Sundays and during the weekends, when you ask them, they always say that Man United's team, the best results they can ever get is position is number 3. Right? We can't expect to be the first place or second place. So if Oli took the team and made us the third best team in the league, then that's all that he can do. What do they expect to be number 2 or number 1?
Look,
it doesn't make sense. If you see the squad,
I understand that, mate. I think you make some good points there. It's one of those things for me. I don't have an issue really with somebody that doesn't rate Oli. I really don't. What I have an issue with is the hypocrisy in what's being said. So you hear things like, and I tweeted about this the other day. He has no system. He has no tactics. We don't train properly. We're not coached. Those same people despise 60, 70% of our players and say that, oh, they're awful. And I'm like, well, I will give any player a pass if the system and the coaching and the management is awful, because how can they be expected to be successful players if the manager and the coaching is as bad as you say? That's first and foremost. Secondly, if the players are as bad as you say, does that not make you think, well, I feel a bit sorry for the manager then? Because if the players are as bad as you say, no system is really going to help them, because Arsene Wenger's system never changed. But because he had a lower quality of player as he got older, his team struggled to maintain that system because they basically didn't have the footballing ability as an overall football team to deliver his vision of football. And it's why Arteta's come in and he's kept elements of good play, but he's become far more pragmatic and closed at the back because they don't have the power of personnel they used to. And this is what it becomes an hypocrisy for me. It's okay, you think all the players are trash and you think the manager's trash, but we still come third. The next thing, oh yeah, but everybody else is really, really bad as well. So that's the only reason we finished there. So whatever happens, there's always going to be an excuse. That's why there's this part of me that wants Oli moved on, because then the proof will come out. If we bring in Poch, and I hope Poch comes in and makes us the best team in England for a long period of time. Of course I do. Is that what I think is going to happen? Absolutely not. And maybe if we have one of these elite level managers that the Oli Out Brigade want, and they see these same problems again in 18 months' time, then I feel like maybe, just maybe, then we can mobilize everybody together and focus on the real problem, which is the owners of the football club. But CJ, thank you very, very much for coming on, having your say. Really, really do appreciate you coming on and speaking to us this morning. If you want to phone in, Skype lines are open. Smash that like button, though. Nearly 2,000 people watching. We need to get this like button hit right up there now, people. Right now. Get that done for us. I want your thoughts and I want your opinions on this. I really, really do. Let's do some of your live comments. David Griffiths here, one of our members, says, at this point, I just want us to be a respectable team. My standards have gone for trophies. Well, David, your standards for trophies shouldn't go. It should be your expectations that change. So there's two different things. But if I don't think my manager and my squad and my system and my team and my board and my transfers and my environment is conducive enough to achieve my standards, that then can't be my expectation. It doesn't make any sense. You know, I have standards for my own self. I'm dyslexic, though. So can I ever become a newsreader? No. It's one of the reasons why I've never even thought about inquiring or looking at doing any kind of television presenting. I can't read great. I'm dyslexic. I could never do that job. So I can have really high standards of professionalism. I can have really high expectations. But if I don't have the ability to deliver something, I'm talking live television. I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it, but I can't. I don't think I ever could. So I don't go for it because all I'm going to do is be left feeling disappointed. I'd love to become a professional football player, but I'm not good enough to. You can't have expectations up here if your level's here. And that United, it's weird. If you judge a goldfish by its ability to climb a tree, you will always be left disappointed. It's as simple and it's as straightforward as that. As far as I'm concerned, anyway, that's all I care about. That is all I care about as far as that's concerned. So that's just my view on these things, anyway. But maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy on that. Jack Daniels says Poch is the man. Let's do some more of it. We've got Dark Side users calling us back. Now, hopefully that line's a little bit better. Now, you can phone the show. Skype lines are open. Give us a buzz right now, people. But Bruno Fernandes reportedly left feeling humiliated by Ollie dragging him off at halftime. Do you think these reports are true? Do you think this is a genuine problem in the dressing room, or is this more PR to go after Ollie? Give me your thoughts. Dark Side users back with us. What you saying, mate?
Hi, mate. Sorry about that bad signal. Yeah, like I was saying, you have to go back to 2003 when Alex Ferguson announced his retirement. The wheels fell off that season. Alex Ferguson realised he made a mistake, and I believe he stayed for another 10 years afterwards. The board should have seen from that point there, we need to make plans for when eventually Alex Ferguson leaves. They've never put anything in place then. And now you're seeing the ramifications of an incompetent board. As a Liverpool supporter, I've seen you guys dominate for the last 20 odd years. As fans used to berate other clubs for sacking managers for poor performance. We would never do that. We've had our manager for so many years. Now you've become the norm. And unfortunately, until that board has gone, you will always do this. And now and again, you'll hit luck here and you'll get a manager and you'll win one or two things. But the minute things start going bad and the press is getting, the board is getting bad press, and the fans are then attacking the board, they'll deflect it back to the manager and they'll go. This is your fourth manager in 7 years?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, you Dark Side, thank you for calling back and getting your point across. You're preaching to the converted, bro. For me, everything we're now seeing is a ramification. And this is what it leads to. It leads to pressure. It leads to people, it leads to bad performances from players. It leads to people not handling the pressure. The whole thing becomes an accumulation of how poor things are run. But Dark Side user, thank you for calling the show. Really do appreciate that. As I say, the Skype lines are open, so feel free to give us a call right now. If you want to come on, if you want to have your say, you want to tell us what you're thinking and feeling. Morning, Terry. What do you think about Sky and BT charging £15 to watch a pay-per-view game? I think from my point of view, I'm disappointed with the amount they're charging. But I told you, didn't I, that they were going to do something. I told you that something. It's interesting, really, because, of course, we're worried that our clubs are losing money. And I told everybody that the clubs and the TV, something will happen which will be put in place to stop clubs from losing money. And this is what it's going to be. And I do get why people are upset with it. They should work out a system where if you're a season ticket holder already, maybe, and you've paid, you don't have to pay. And it's frustrating for football fans. But I suppose... Listen, I don't agree. I think it's far too much money, personally. But then I'm trying to look at it from the other side. I'm thinking, if this was the normal world, as it already was, and there were 3 o'clock, for instance, non-televised games, they said, look, listen, we're going to charge, you can pay £5 to watch them if you want to. I think people would. Maybe £8, people would. £10, oh, it's a bit much. But I think it's with the current global situation, lots of people struggling financially, the world in the situation it is. I think it is far too much money to charge. But I told you the clubs are going to do something. Where it becomes frustrating for people is if this takes off and the clubs make a lot more money out of it, millions of pounds. People, hang on a minute, how comes we didn't sign the players in the summer we wanted? That's where my head's at. Personally, £15 is far too expensive, I think, for something like this. I think the concept is a good idea. You know, if we go to the normal world, we have all the normal televised games, but 3 o'clock games are available. If you want to watch them, and they're say a £5 charge, that makes sense. If I'm a match going fan, yes, I feel like £15 is a lot of money. Every time I go to a match, though, that whole day cost me about 200 quid, not including travel. So the amount I spend on food and drink and taxis and programs and everything else. So it's definitely cheaper than going to a game live, but I think it's far too much money. I understand what they're trying to do, but they just, do you know what it is? They always get these things wrong. They never consult with fan groups before doing it. But there is a way around this. Just don't pay it. Remember, that's one thing I'd say. You as the consumers have the power. Don't pay it. If you bend over and go, I'm going to pay it anyway, then they don't have to listen to you. There comes a time where you have to stand up against things that you disagree with. If you don't moan about them. I can't stand virtue signalers. It's terrible, but I paid it anyway. Unless it's something you have to, like your council tax. And I'm sure there's a way around that if you really try. On the line now, we have Kalen. Kalen, who do you support and what do you want to say?
Hey, Terry, how are you doing?
I'm very good. Who do you support, bro?
I'm a Manchester United fan.
Lovely. What do you think about all these stories coming out about Ollie? He may be losing his job soon, losing the dressing room, etc. Where do you think this information is coming from?
Well, I would just have to say deja vu, I guess. I mean, under Mourinho, people blame Mourinho because of his previous management. And now they're saying Ollie's losing the dressing room. And I recall this being the first summer where we thought all of our players were happy. And now this all of a sudden bounced up. And not taking into account that Bruno has a winning mentality. He will be frustrated with the score, with the performance. That's just the type of player he is. And if I recall, when Sporting was playing as well, he got taken off or got a red card. He went into the dressing room and he kicked the door or something. And then there was all of a sudden press. It was the time we were linked with him and they said he has temperament issues and all of that. So I just say it's deja vu. As far as the media goes and Ollie's job, that's exactly what it is. I feel that it's propaganda, someone from within the club, because this is what they're going to do. They do not want to lose their power. They do not want the heat on them. And they want to deflect it back on the manager so they can get someone out and continue the cycle. And as fans, unfortunately, we are part of that cycle. We play into their hands by believing this, allowing them to do it to us again. If every fan stood behind Ollie, where would they deflect their blame? Because if they sacked Ollie and the fans stood behind him, it would still not satisfy anyone.
No, mate, I agree with you completely. I think what happens for a lot of people is blaming Ollie or blaming the manager. And the reason I say this is because it's what they're a target. You can see them. They're approachable. And we always do. Now, I always mention my sort of banking background. When the world went into chaos in 2008 because of multiple things that banks done wrong, do you know which people in the banks got more attention, abuse, criticism, and shouted at, spat at more than anybody? It was retail banking staff who, by the way, most of them were earning between £13,000 and £15,000 a year as their base salary. They were on, working class people earning a very, very, very modest wage who had absolutely nothing to do with anything that went on. But what happens is because they're available on the high street where the general man and woman lives and works, they're an easy target. And football managers fall into that same space. Sometimes, by the way, things are down to a manager, tactics, man management, things he's said and done that deserve criticism. But when it comes to Man United, that are now practically onto their 4th unsuccessful manager on the bounce, there comes a time where you have to look beyond that individual and beyond that person being the target of your attention. But Man United fans simply do not want to do this for whatever reason. The problem is, and I know this through my own history, both footballing and non-footballing, you can take it out on Ollie. You can see him get sacked. We can bring in a new manager, and you can celebrate that as almost like a moral, integral victory for yourself. Ah, yes, we got him out. Problem fixed. It's exactly the same notion we went through with Jose. And some of the biggest voices in the Ollie out brigade were the biggest voices in the Moyes out brigade, the LVG out brigade, the Jose out brigade. And their rhetoric and narrative was exactly the same each time. Remove the manager, remove the problem. Remove the manager, we progress. 3 times on the bounce, they've got that wrong. I don't want to trust that process again, because that's where lies the issue. You know, the reports yesterday are a great example. If Ollie truly is considered not a good enough coach by the players, if they're not happy with the system, they're not happy with the tactics, they're not happy with what goes on behind the scenes, although the same article did say that training is engaging and very, very intense. If they don't think the tactics are up to scratch, how did this board even employ him in the first place, bruv? That's what you got to ask yourself. What did they see in him in the opening 3 months that made them think he was good enough? They're not football people, so they don't know what they're looking at. Equally, do they not speak to the players for feedback? And if the players fed in then that he was a good enough coach, what's changed between now and then? Is that player power taking prevalence? Is that, do you know what? This is going to be an easy ride. They say he's good. Maybe. I don't know the answer because I'm not there. But you need to have football people on that board making footballing decisions that understand what they're looking for. You know, we really, really do. Thank you, Kaylin, for phoning the show and having your say. Next up, we've got Kahir. I think it's how it's pronounced, Kahir. Welcome to the Football Terrace. What do you want to say, my friend?
Yeah, good morning, Terry. I was just listening to what you're talking about, Ed and Ollie, and I think that they're both part of the same problem, which itself is the old guard has way too much control. You know, you look at Ferguson, he appointed Moyes, and Ollie's in another appointment of his. Mike Phelan, what the hell are United doing with that dinosaur in charge of being the assistant? He failed as a manager at Hull. He failed as a director of football in Australia. And now he gets given the United assistant job. It's a fucking joke. Sorry.
No, I understand you find it to be a joke. Look, I mean, I think Mike Phelan has been a good coach in his career and a good sort of assistant, which makes sense. I think he has been. However, I understand your point. You say the old guard, but then it comes down to one thing, though. Fergie can put a recommendation in all he wants. But it comes down to the board making these decisions. And I don't blame Ollie. I don't blame Phelan. I don't blame Fergie. I don't blame Sir Bobby. I don't blame anybody other than the board for making these decisions. If you had football minds on that board in decision-making powers,
exactly,
they should be making it. They should be going, do you know what, Sir Alex, I appreciate you think Mickey Phelan's going to be a good fit. We think Joe Bloggs and X, Y, and Z are going to be better. Football has moved on. And I think we have to understand that new coaches, fresh coaches, new ideas, these things happen. And people like Mickey Phelan, there comes a point where maybe there's a place for you at some stage in the club. But if we had proper football mind making proper football decisions on that board, if you cleared out 2 or 3 of our board members and you put in Edwin van der Sar, Paul Scholes, Patrice Evra,
Rio over Scholes any day.
And Rio. Well, listen, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing out some names there of people that have good football brains that understand what's going on. That know, if you put in like a mixture of those people on the board, from a business right through to a sort of a cultural element of the club, and you got them out there doing things, they would make proper. They know what proper football is. They understand how things are going. You know, this is the thing, right? And I don't care which. I actually quite fancied Rio for director of football at Man United. I think because people would sleep on his business acumen. They really, really do. At the same time, I think he could sit in a room with the majority of young football players from working class backgrounds and just make them understand it. The same as Paul Scholes. I think Paul Scholes would sit with you face to face. Forget how he comes across on TV. I think if he sat down with you face to face and spoke to you, I think people would listen to him. One, who he is. Secondly, working class man. The problem we have right now, we don't just have bankers making footballing decisions. We have men from very privileged, middle class and above backgrounds who I don't think have any understanding of how to communicate with the working classes. And that's a very important element. It's so important to be able to communicate and speak to somebody on a level. It's why, I'll tell you why. It's why YouTubers do so well. So the likes of Flex are so brilliant when it comes to interviewing people, because they can chat to these football players from a level of understanding, because they're from the same housing estates, they're from the same streets, they're from the same backgrounds, they're from the same areas, they go to the same kind of schools, they're from the same backgrounds, you know. And I'm talking like class level here, right? A working class man can talk to another working class man, they kind of get each other. When you stick some middle class sort of Oxbridge educated TV presenter in the room, it's harder, because there is a difference in terms of mindset and understanding. And I think we have that problem culturally at the club.
Oh, that brings me to three final points. Number one, the biggest problem is Ed Woodward. And I'm sorry to say, he's an utter abomination, even commercially. Do you know why I can say that? He's known since a year before he was appointed that Chevrolet deal was not going to be extended. A year before he was appointed, because the GM exec who negotiated with David Gill was fired within 6 months.
It was such a bad deal. Yeah. From their point of view, I get that.
And on top of that, he had Jose Mourinho working for him, a man who's endorsed by Samsung, EA, BT, Jaguar Land Rover. How in the blue hell do you not get a replacement sponsorship deal when you have someone like that working for you? It's an abomination. And that's why I'm sick of the talking point. Oh, he's so great commercially. He's an abomination. Every bit of any deal, quote unquote, he's got is based on that deal that David Gill, who I don't even rate personally, negotiated with Chevrolet, because the kit sponsor deal sets an artificial baseline for the shirt manufacturing deal. So given that they were getting about 60 million a year from that alone, he could go to Adidas and say that my baseline is 20% higher. Secondly, Juventus were in a very similar situation to United at the start of the last decade. In fact, they began the previous decade with 2 7th-place finishes. Do you know what they did? The fans protested to get Andrea Agnelli in as the president. He then appointed Pavel Nedved as chairman and brought in Giuseppe Marotta from Sampdoria. And Juventus, since then, won 7th-place finish and 9 titles in a row. Why? Because, and they got a new stadium, they got a new club museum, Cristiano Ronaldo. It's because Andrea Agnelli is everything Ed Woodward thinks he is and wishes he was.
Mate, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, listen, there is a AC Milan's demise and the lack of competition makes it a bit easier to win the titles with the frequency.
AC Milan are on the way back.
Yeah, I get that, but look, I think everything you've said is right. I would just caveat that and say that the amount of titles they've won is reflective of the overall quality of the league, but the principle of what you're saying is absolutely right. And I don't know who the right fit is for Man United. I've got my personal opinions. On a real level, you have to sit down and talk to these people.
There's only one man.
Who?
There's only one man. That's Massimiliano Allegri. Say what you want about him.
I'm not worried about the manager right now. I don't care who our next manager is until, I will support whoever comes in, but I don't care who the next manager is until the board is fixed. I'm speaking board level here. We need people of Edwin van der Sar's quality and class integrated into that board, and given the anonymity to make the decisions around the footballing element, whether Woodwards and Matt Judges, whether they stay or they go, they have no say, like zero say, zero control. Until that happens, there'll be no change. And the point you make about protesting is very, very true. I'm sick to my back teeth of Man United fans moaning about this board and doing nothing about it. And I'll give you an example here. And this new pay-per-view element is going to be testament to it. They will turn around. Certain fans are going to say, disgraceful, shouldn't happen. The people have to understand, most of that 15 quid is going to the clubs who are playing on television. Every Man United fan that pays for that pay-per-view to watch these teams play is funding the Glazers. And yet they go, we have no control over nothing. Yes, you do. Cut the snake's head off, remove the money, and demand change. You may not get them to sell the club, but I guarantee if you let them drive their finances, if you started to lower the valuation of the football club, you would get something. Because people would want to say the Glazers are stupid. They're not. They bought a £4 billion valued or £3 billion valued club for nothing.
With debt.
Like
a club that hadn't been in debt since.
Exactly.
Since
but for them as individuals, they now own a £3 billion plus asset for nothing, right? They are not dumb people. However, if you try to start to take that asset away from them, they'll give you something back because they still want the money. What might end up having to happen with the Glazers is a compromise. We have to behave like the unions in Britain have done over the years, where sometimes you're not going to get all you want as the workers, and we're the workers in this situation, but you protest and strike and do things in a way so at least you get some of what you want. There has to be a compromise. But if we just sit back on our idle backsides, virtue signaling, oh, I hate the Glazers, they're terrible, I hate them, but then taking a selfie in a new zebra kit going, look at me, I'm a big top red, like my picture, they're laughing at you. They are laughing in your face at how pathetic you are. You moan about us, but you still give us your money. Ha, ha, ha. We are going to keep doing it. And there lies the problem. Man United fans are as culpable as anybody. If you feed the beast, it will continue to thrive. It's as simple as that for me, bro.
Brings me to another solution. And this is one thing that I think we're thinking way too narrowly. United fans, if they care about the club, they should join Mike Ashley's lawsuit against the Premier League. Do you know why? Because if that fit and proper test is applied and is the reason why the Saudi takeover fell through, surely that is grounds, if United fans have the bottle for this, to reopen or have that test re-administered on the Glazers. Do you know why? Last year, they were found guilty by a court of law in the States of basically insurance fraud. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, piracy and fraud are basically from the same family of crimes. Surely if you stop one person from owning a football club based on fraud, you have to apply that to the Glazers and Ed Woodward. Ed Woodward is a corporate criminal. And if United don't watch it, they're going the way of Enron, if you're familiar with that scandal.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand that, mate. And I think all these things should happen. But like you've hit the nail on the head. The majority of Manchester United fans talk a good talk, but they have no bottle when it comes to challenging the Glazers. I know a United fan. He runs a fairly big Man United website. And I spoke to him about putting some anti-Glazer stuff on his website. And he said, I can't. I said, why? He said, I can't. I said, but why? Well, I just can't. All right, Terry. I'm like, why? Privately. He wouldn't answer me. Turns out in the end, it's announced very soon. He's now going to be sponsored by one of the same betting sponsors that Man United have got, and there's some linkages in there, and he's going to be getting some exclusive interviews with some of the players. He's more worried about his business than he is the football club, by the way, which is fine. But I don't want to hear you moan about the Glazer ownership. For me, that's where it falls down. I don't care. If you want to buy shirts, if you want to go to games, if you want to pay the £15 for pay-per-view, knock yourself out. I don't judge you on it. What I don't want to see is you doing those things and then sitting there moaning about the ownership. They're money hungry. They're leeches. They only care about taking money out the club. They don't care about the heritage. Woodward this, that judge that, rare. And then you go and buy everything. That just annoys me, bro. Do you get where I'm coming from?
I get exactly where you're going, mate.
It winds me up so much.
The Juventus model is the way to go. You just think about it, mate. Jadon's. I was looking at Diego Dallo's Instagram feed. At his unveiling at Milan, he stood next to Paolo Maldini. Just think about that. At Juventus, new players get unveiled by Pavel Nedved, a Ballon d'Or winner. Who do United have? Ed fucking Woodward.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have the manager, Ollie, who's a legend at the club. But no, I get your point. I mean, imagine how powerful. Imagine the picture. Imagine, yeah, exactly. Imagine the picture. You know, we Cavani holding the shirt in a week or so, and he's over here. He's got Ollie next to him, club legend and manager. Whether he's good enough or not, we'll put that aside for a second. But Ollie there, you know, you got Rio next to him. You got Paul Scholes and Gary Neville around as well. You look at it and go, look at my club, like past, present, future. Do you get where I'm coming from? Imagine those two youngsters we've signed doing their little unveiling, and they've got United legends of old, great board. It would be brilliant. But the problem is, the reason those people won't be employed, simple and straightforward as that, until money's taken away, maybe, is the Glazers and the board members that are from the Glazer family. They don't want people like that involved because they don't want to be challenged. And even with the managers that come in, the managers come in and challenge, but you get as soon as the manager starts to speak up and start to challenge, bang, push back. And there's even a part of me, there's even a part of me that's thinking about the fact that this summer, Ollie didn't go all out against the Glazers. He even praised them at some point by saying, you know, the club's run well. But you can see his frustration. I think him even visually looking frustrated makes Woodward and co say, all right, he's under the bus. It's just terrible, mate. Listen, I really appreciate your call. Brilliant points. Would love to get you back on the show again, mate. Drop me a DM for that. We'll chat to you again soon. Who Me with a super chat here says, boss, I'm Arsenal and I feel now. Oh, hang on a sec. It disappeared. It says, but I feel nowhere near the love I did when I was growing up in the 90s for the team. You probably feel the same. Social media has ruined it by so many levels. This ain't fun. I love my football club as much now as I ever did. The problem, I feel even more love for Man United. You know why? Because I feel like I'm going to have to try and analogize this here, but it's like if my brother got into a toxic relationship and he was with somebody that was making him a worse person, the way they're behaving, the way their carryings on, their goings on, their social behaviors, it would make me care even more. It would make me want to get my brother out of that situation, right? That's how I feel about Man United. It's something I love, and it's in a toxic relationship, and it's being damaged in every which way, shape, or form. I want to know what the answer is to help getting Man United away from the Glazers, away from Woodward, because it kills me. It kills me. Again, not a serious issue as family, but it is a big issue in my life. There's no doubt. Next on the line, we have Dan. We're going to get Dan on now. Dan, his signal's not too great. Once that loads through, we'll get him on. Get your super chat. I'm animated now. I'm animated this morning. We've got Dan on the line. What are you saying, Dan?
Well, I'm a Chelsea fan.
Lovely. Tell me what you want to say.
It's about your team, Manchester United. I'm from Ethiopia. Better?
Yeah, I can't hear you too well. I can't hear you, my friend. Signal's really not particularly good. Try calling this back again. I couldn't hear a word. Very, very sorry. Let's do a few more of your live comments here. Man United fans never stand up to the Glazers because they're plastic. Thumber here says, honestly, we all knew Ollie's tactics are rubbish. It's time we move on. Stop accepting mediocre managers. That's a fair analysis, that we need to stop the board from picking mediocre managers. We can't stop the board from doing that if we don't push back. Listen, everyone who's tuned in this morning, thank you. Please smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our Clips account. The link to subscribe to the Clips account is in our description below. Lots of new content coming out on there today. So make sure you go and get that done. But until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves. Have great days. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.